You get a better idea of the small advances that are made in sharpening the sword and the skill set that allows someone to capitalize in a situation like that. You're going to have a lot better idea on what you should be doing with yourself from day to day. I'm actually in front of the headquarters of National Association of Broadcasting, and according to Wiki, they have ownership over 8,300 television and radio production companies. And what that is an example of is 20th century programming. This was developed in the 20th century, and basically all the power was given to a select few of companies that have access and power over broadcasting. People that want to get seen or found or have their ideas spread need to have access to something like an organization like this that will put them on airtime. And that was just the result of television and radio being developed in the 20th century and people remaining in control over that. Now, one of the interesting things that's happened in the 21st century is that with the advent of the internet, and especially mediums like YouTube, anybody with a video can just upload themselves and be found by anybody in the world through the magic of the internet. Now, hopefully that's going to help us break some ideas about success that I think that the 20th century mass media programming entity has perpetuated. Now, the problem with the mass media is that stories are told within movies which are 2 hours long, television programs which are 30 minutes long, and/or commercials which can be even shorter, like something like 15 seconds. And what we know about movies is that they often tell stories, right? It's often a story of self-development, or even in a film like Forrest Gump, you follow someone's entire lifespan and see how they develop over time. Now, this stuff can be misleading because each scene really shows a pivotal moment in the person's life. And you need to create drama in order to create a climax and a resolution, and that's just good old-fashioned movie making. But what that does is it primes our brains incorrectly. We've all been raised on these stories, and if you think of the brain as a computer, it's like the hardware, right? Now, the software that gets uploaded into your brain is your social programming. If you're raised in the Middle East versus the West, you're going to have different social programming depending on where you grew up. But I think what almost all of us grew up with is this 20th century programming, which involves little snippets of people's lives in these stories that are told through visual media that make us think that these people just had the skills overnight, that they were born with them, that they were cut from a different cloth and able to capitalize on these situations. But this is why this video is named Why You Should Read Biographies, because I feel like reading biographies set up so much more context in people's lives. You're able to see the small, minuscule 0.1% advances that people make from day to day in their lives, rather than these pivotal moments that are shown through mass media. And if you get a better idea of the small advances that are made in sharpening the sword and the skill set that allows someone to capitalize in a situation like that, you're going to have a lot better idea on what you should be doing with yourself from day to day. Recent biographies that I've read include Arnold Schwarzenegger, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos with Amazon, and I'm currently listening to Michael Jordan's biography. And I know that I've been a little sexist in my biography choices. I should probably read one on a woman soon. But the point that I'm trying to make is that what I've seen in these biographies is a lot more context gets set up in these people's lives that you don't get from movies, that you don't get from television programs, that you certainly don't get from commercials. So in seeing how these people's lives are set up and how the progression actually happens, you get, again, a lot better idea on how they progressed. And in reflecting back on yourself, there's a Confucius saying where wisdom comes from 1, reflection, 2, imitation, and 3, through experience. And I just want to make sure that myself and other people are imitating and experiencing themselves through an understanding a frame that is beneficial for them. Because if you frame yourself on what you've learned from movies, you're going to have the wrong idea, and you're going to feel like a failure because you see these people do these incredible things, but what you didn't see is the work, the day-to-day determination and work ethic that goes into developing that skill set in order to capitalize in those situations. Whereas if you read biographies and get around that 20th century programming, you're going to have a much better chance at seeing your progression as healthy and continuing on with it and having the determination to continue through any barriers that you might have. Now, hopefully there's some hope with 21st century programming with things like YouTube, where anybody can just upload any video and be found throughout the internet, so that they can have much more of a healthy sense of progression, but that remains to be seen. So read biographies, don't pay attention to movies, television programs, commercials as much, and let me know what you think. Thanks so much for the listen. Cody Rall, talk to you next time. Thanks, bye.